Hello everyone and welcome back to the second game dev vlog of Slither Wars. So glad you clicked on the video. Um yeah, I've made a little progress. I have some snake movement now. I will be showing some code this time. The first time I don't think I even went over code. I think I just showed the diagram mainly. So yeah, I've coded a little bit more. I have some progress and so that's what I'm going to display. And yeah, I also am probably not going to make another video for the next week because I do have some exams coming up. So I will be trying to code in my free time. Oops, and I'll stop the recording. I will be coding in my free time, but probably no game dev vlog next week. So yeah, just a little update. Anyways, though, let's get into the code. I will show you guys how it works. So still this menu. I plan to make this menu look a lot better later, but I just want to get the core game functionality down right now, of course. So, new changes. When you hit start game, it loads into this blank world. Really just remove that that blue background I think I had before, which was from like the tutorial. And yeah, so if I use the arrow keys, right, up, down, left, right, I can actually see something moving. So I can control this movement. I can turn basically any direction, wiggle, go back and forth. I maybe should have turned up the speed just to make this a little interesting. Um, and yeah, actually in the code, I'll show you guys the constants and stuff to control everything. But basically how this works is the snake's body, instead of being one object, is actually a collection of objects, right? So I call those segments, and each piece or each circle of the snake's body is a segment of the snake's body, which is how you can add more and increase their size to simulate the illusion of growth and also movement, right? So the way this move animation works is literally by creating and destroying the first and last segment in whatever direction and coordinate that the user is trying to move, right? So you can see I just went off the screen there. I can go off screen. Should probably fix it, make it so you can't go off screen. Um, that'd be cooler. But yeah. So that's basically how the move animation works. Now, right now, you can probably tell if I stop moving, every segment collapses on itself. I want to stop that from happening because I want to make it similar to the Slither game, where like you can't stop moving in the game. And also, um, you'll be able to like, circle yourself, but if you move in a circle, because but you'll never be able to like stop in one spot in the map. Um, just to make it more realistic, and also so people can't just like camp and stop themselves from dying, you know what I mean? Because there's no way to be killed if you're like this, right? Because you have to run into the other person, but if you don't have to move and you stay in one square, then the other person can't kill you, you know what I'm saying? Whereas in the Slither game, since you're always moving, you basically just get like strangled to death and squeezed like a real snake. So it's pretty cool. But yeah, so also if I hit escape, then that exits the game. It actually just switches the state and the code back to the game menu, and it also despawns all the entities that were spawned in the game, new game. So that's how that works. Now let's dive into some code. This and close the terminal. And here's the main.rs. And basically, we have this camera that is being set up. This is the very first thing that needs to happen because without the camera, literally no other visual entities will spawn. And you'll just see a black screen. So that's literally done first before any other thing. This make visible component is really just uh, a little like it's not necessary at all, but there is a possibility that when you open a window, it flashes white because the literal code or assets or whatever you're trying to load to display on the home screen or the first scene has not loaded yet. So to avoid that, it literally keeps the screen black. I mean, no, keeps the screen invisible from the system for 3 frames. And it usually takes like less than 3 frames for the GPU to boot up and stuff, display the pixels. So yeah, that's just a little hack. I took that from the baby repo repo as well. And so yeah, then I also have this window plugin which just customize things a little bit more. Nothing too fancy. And then yeah, we have FPS plugin, game menu plugin, and then the game plugin. So I'll show you guys the FPS plugin real quick. So it's just in the FPS module. Literally just the default. I think this is all you can even do with the plugin. But yeah, basically just have it to only run in debug mode. Um, I do plan to have maybe some kind of like settings inside of like the setting, like a little checkbox that's like, show FPS, and then it just displays the FPS in the corner. Um, but for now, I just have it only display in debug. So yeah, this is just to help me like, see the game performance a little bit. Nothing too crazy though. And then we also have the game menu plugin, and this is in the menus module. Now the game menu plugin is basically what you see, that little, red box, the red background with the buttons when you first load the game. And you can see right here, it just has the quality and the volume. I think I showed you guys this in the last devlog, but nothing too fancy. Like I said, I took most of this code from the Bevy examples, and I simply, plugged it in into my own way of coding style, I guess. I didn't, I separated some of the modules a little bit, moved things around just a little bit, but most of it's kind of the same. The reason I'm leaving it alone right now is because, like I said, I wanted to get the core game functionality working as fast as possible, as a demo, because I want help on this game, and I feel like it's easier for people to help you when they see the vision almost there versus like nothing's done, help me, when no one's interested, right? And also, I actually just want to learn how this works, and I learn really well from like reading other people what they did and then copying them. So, um, yeah, but definitely like this makes me miss React really much, like just JavaScript, like being able to make UI with CSS is such a blessing. When look at this code, like look how they have to like do styles, like flex direction, column. This is just like an enum probably. Yeah, it's just the enum, and then enum. I should say like oh my God, enumeration. Isn't that the real word for enum? I don't know. I was gonna say I should say that instead of enum, but then I've messed up saying that, so I'm probably not. But anyways, that's enough yab about that. Um, That's the menu plugin basically. Nothing too crazy. Now, where the fun stuff happens is actually in the game module and the shared module. So shared is literally a module that the common structs and enums are derived in. So things like the game state, the player, the segment, position history, orbs, and common functions go in shared. It's kind of like a utils folder, but also that contain types. So it's literally just shared between multiple modules. Um, and most modules don't import each other. So it's kind of like this. It's like the main module, which goes to the plugins, right? Next to the plugins, and the plugins can import from shared, right? So plugins don't affect other plugins, but they all share a shared. So yeah, that's kind of how it is. As far as the project structure. But yeah, so basically game state, this is literally just when the game loads up, which mode are we in? Splash screen is the little Bevy logo, the menu is where you see the red screen, and then the game is obviously where you can control the snakes. And soon I'll probably be adding, spawning food or the orbs, I guess. Modifying the snake growth. Um, Also maybe playing around with the size of the snake as well. So, that's pretty fun. I'm looking forward to that. And also working on some kind of AI system as well, because that'd be kind of cool to have other snakes in the game that you're like battling against. That'll be cool. And yeah, so basically the player, they have a name, which I need to create like some kind of UI input for players to enter their name. So when they join the server, people can obviously see them on the leaderboard and stuff. The score, obviously that's self-explanatory. That's just how many orbs you eat. The reason that it's not the same as length is just for like clarity, I guess. Um, and also because I wanted the length to be a default value like 10 starting out so that the player has some kind of body, right? And the score is used. I guess the score is just starting at zero, right? The store will start at zero when you start. And the segments are just an vector or an array of entities, which literally an entity is like anything in the game, right? And this just makes it super modular to like plug in different mesh materials inside of Bevy, right? And then this just, constructor creates a player, um, just syntactic sugar or whatever. And then segment, nothing, no real important information on this. It's just a Bevy entity, which is the circle mesh. Position history is pretty cool, which I'll show you guys in the game module how it works. Basically, we keep track of the player's previous position in the game so that we can select the latest, I mean the last element, and we can move it forward to the front. So the player segment, so if the player's length is 10, right? The player doesn't grow, its length doesn't expand, right? We just need to swap the coordinates for the position of each segment. That way, the last segment moves to the front, and this gives the illusion of movement. And this is just done with a queue so that everything's in sync. And the max segment history is 1,000. So I think that I haven't tested this, but I'm assuming if the segment history is filled up, then you couldn't grow anymore, which is if that's the case, then I'll probably raise this to something like, I don't know, 100,000 because 100,000 would be a lot of segments though. I think what also might be cool to have is like if you actually did get really big, like maybe say over 10,000, um the snake would like condense the segments. So instead of having like 10,000 individual items to go through and loop over in an array, we can condense that to only 1,000, which are worth like 100 points each, you know? So 10 100ths is 1,000. So it would be okay, okay, that's the wrong math actually. Each segment would be 10 instead of 1. So then 1,000 tens is 10,000. There we go. So it'll only be 1,000 segments, which will probably be like I guess that'll be instead of doing the 10,000 iterations, that's 1,000 iterations over an array. So that's like way faster. You get what I'm saying? And as long as the underlying value is in the code is like, okay, well, if the snake has a score of 10,000 plus, then we can do this. And, you know, it makes sense. I'm probably not explaining it the best, but that was just a random idea on the top of my head. And then orbs haven't even implemented this, but that's basically just the stuff the snake eats. And so, yeah, let's go to the game real quick. So the game system, this one's kind of cool. So basically when the system actually loads up, no, sorry, when this system is actually called, so when you actually switch to the game state on enter, um, it will actually load this setup, right? So this system will not even load until that new game button is hit, right? And that's what prevents this right here. And then on update, we also run the player move and camera update function. And then we also have on exit. So when the game is exited, this is what calls despawn screen. And this function, as you can see in shared, literally just calls despawn on each entity that is in the scene. And so this is just some Bevy magic, which I said again is another great reason why Bevy's cool, is because like this would be really complex to do um, from scratch, you know? Like it's just magically grabbing any entity inside of our world that just happens to have a reference to this player struct, which is pretty cool. And segment and orb. And this is good because without this code, like if you exited the game state, it would still remember your player state from before, which doesn't make any sense, right? And in a final application in the full multiplayer game, when you exit the game, it would, you know, obviously make a network request to like alert all the other players that you died. Um, I'm not sure because what Slither does actually is like when you leave the game, it just like keeps your snake in the game, but it disconnects you from the network. So your snake is still there, just moving until someone kills you and eats you. I'm not sure if I'll do that or if I'll just have it to where if the player disconnects, then the snake automatically just dies where it is, and then the food is just left behind, you know? Not really sure yet, but basically we spawn the player. We do that here in the game setup. Before I had it like in the main setup menu. That doesn't make sense because the player needs to be created and destroyed each time they start a new game. And then here's where we spawn the segments. So we basically spawn a segment. We the initial segments in the setup are created by the default player length, which is 10. Um, and then every time they move, right, we shift the player direction, right? And then we also update the segment direction based off of the player's direction, right? And that's how it moves. And then we also update the camera accordingly. Now, I'll probably have to, you know, obviously have in here um, logic for not moving outside of the world, but yeah, that's pretty much how the code works. So I hope you guys did enjoy this little update, 14-minute video, 15-minute video, not too bad. I'm gonna go grab some food now, and then I have a test to study for. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe, share. I'll leave a link to the GitHub and the repo in the description as well if you want. Later.